Hey, what's up, Friday night? Hey, friends. You know what's great about this is it doesn't, I'm definitely not the type to actually look and see who joined. I don't even know if you can see who joined. It doesn't matter. It's Friday night, and I'll tell you what, my daughter does not want to make TikTok videos with me. I mean, she just doesn't. She refuses. Look at my see. I'm Instagram over here, so I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. But you see how I have my computer there, and then I have the other one there. All right. I digress. You know, I really don't even know how to use the I digress. I never really know how to use ironic either. Ironically, honestly, I don't. But Friday night, and I am feeling a little bit anxious to get some information out. And given the state of where we're at, a lot of people will ask, what have you done with this time? And, you know, TikTok's on my list. And wouldn't it be great if my daughter would just be like, okay, cool, let's do that dance and let's see if it can go get some views, etc. She's not into it. She's so into her friends, and she's 11 years old, and I get it. She's right at that stage where she just wants like kind of nothing to do with me, and I'm cool with it. I can sit back, I can put myself in her time, in her shoes, and remember that I get it. So I'm not tripping on that. But what I am tripping on a little bit is this anxiety, a little bit anxious to get it out. And those that aren't going live, they're not really thinking, I need to get it out. They're just not. They have the ability to create content at some level. They have the ability to lean into their given strength. It might be written. It might be pictures, you know, it might be audio, but hitting live is just a different gig. It really, really is. So I'm here to say I have something to get out, and it's really about something. It's about these notes that I started making over 5 years ago. It's dated March 4th, 2016. So when I think of these amount of notes, my God, I mean, we're talking notes. I should pull it back here. Notes. A lot of fucking notes. And this is about one topic. This is about a topic called time slotting. And I'm all about thinking of how to utilize your time wisely, and why is it that people take the 24 hours in a day and are way more productive than others. And believe me, I fall short of waking up every day and thinking that the last day, yesterday, I absolutely crushed it and done as much as I possibly could, because I value time more than money. I always have. But I'm getting a lot more anxious with my time, and wanting a lot more, and wanting to be productive and accomplish a lot more. And what's happened, and you guys have probably been in these conversations too, you know, oh, what are you doing with this extra time that you have in Corona? What a fucked up statement. Are we given 26 hours in a day because of this bullshit? No, definitely not. Are we given more than 60 minutes in an hour? You see where I'm going with this. So the obvious is like, it's almost like you're pressured to do more. And I have, okay? I have. And here's my list. Website, blog, Twitter, Tumblr, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram. Of course I had Instagram before Corona, but it's like refreshing it. You know, it's like actually getting into it. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat, SEO, retargeting. Go ahead and retarget me. I mean, do me a favor and retarget me. Make me feel like I'm actually on a digital journey. Can you guys see it? Digital journey. make me feel like I'm actually doing what I should be doing online, so you can retarget me and do me a favor. So that's my list, you guys. I know you've been asked, what have you done? What are you doing with this extra time? And it isn't extra time. That is just such an asinine angle. So I'm a little bit anxious to get this out. And this is funny. I actually wrote my book is called Time Slotting, and then I changed it to say my blog. I put blog in parentheses, and this was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So kudos to Corona, because I thought of this a little bit differently 5 years ago when my brother and I were creating and designing and building and selling rocks with water coming out of it. My partner Suzanne, remembers, she built the website for me for Minerals and Symmetry. And there's a lot of intellectual property there, so don't trip on that. But here's the thing. I have been thinking about time and positivity. And positivity to me is, my dad did not allow us to say the word can't. He literally removed it from our vocabulary because of the choice to be positive or negative. So, and I said this on my dad in my dad's memorial. I had this as part of the speech. The fact that my dad did not allow the word can't. But when you think of positivity, you're absolutely thinking of you only live once, and I have it up on my board that we all won the human lottery. I don't know where Gary Vaynerchuk comes up with this, but he says it's something like 400 trillion to 1. You won the human lottery. You exist. And I'm here to tell you stories, because whenever I would get into conversations or not necessarily arguments, but more like conversations with people about time and about life, I would think of that like, wait a second, I have won the human lottery. So if you're gonna wallow or get negative about anything, I can go very high level and just say we exist. Isn't that amazing? And I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about, but what ended up happening is I started thinking of time slotting and these notes. Again, look at these notes. There's a lot of notes there. And this is all about one topic called time slotting. Okay, a lot of notes. Sitting in my car, sitting in parking lots. And this is from 5 years ago, and I've never got this out. I've never, ever have said this to anybody besides probably my brother. Which, by the way, I'm going to start recording our conversations, and I can't just publish my brother and my conversations because it would just be a little too much for people to handle, frankly. But I'll edit it a little bit, and it's some of the best entertainment, some of the most raw, back and forth entertainment that I think anybody will ever come across. So it'll be part of the podcast. Is the podcast on here? Yeah, the podcast is on here. The podcast is Anchor. I don't know why I wrote blog, but website, blog, Twitter, Tumblr, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat, SEO, and retargeting. So I've gotten into all this stuff. You can go check out my website, darrenfranzen.com. It's not that great. It doesn't suck, or else I wouldn't have made it live. But it's going to be a lot better with a lot of good content. So I struggled between, my daughter won't do any TikTok videos with me tonight. So I need to get it out, before I really settle down, before I go on the couch and just get vertical, or is it vertical? I need to get it out a little bit. I'm getting anxious on a daily basis. I do feel like I have something to say, and that's a different gig. There's a lot of people that don't, and I respect that. They just don't want to go live, and they don't have enough to say. They'll put it. They do in the written form. They do in the audio form. Sometimes they do it just pictures, whether it's Pinterest. Is Pinterest even on my list? I got Pinterest up here and Snapchat. I haven't even set up my Snapchat account. But what I was thinking is positivity, which absolutely in my heyday, in a really, philosophical conversation with somebody, I would always talk about the human lottery. I would always talk about, well, what's the alternative? We don't exist? When they would, gripe about something, and of course people just want to vent sometimes, but do we really have time for that? I just don't anymore. I just can't see how we can't lean in to positivity. And so I'm just going to read a little bit from what I have here. And here's where we're at, you guys. Okay, my blog is called Time Slotting. It's one's everlasting, never-ending pursuit of free time. So if you're going to tell me I just don't think that there's an argument around a person in existence that doesn't want more free time. And isn't that kind of weird, putting the word free to time when time is money? So I'm not trying to be over philosophical, by no means, but this is all about one's everlasting and never-ending pursuit of free time. And I'll tell you, I've always taken time over money. I've always been in a position to work harder and make more money, sometimes more money in a month than some people make in a year. So then all of a sudden it's like, well, do I just not work next month? And that was really my mindset. My mindset was, yeah, you should probably just take the time and do whatever you want. And I like that theory, but as I get older, time does have its end. So not that I feel like I'm running out of time. I feel like I got 30, 40 more years of doing what I want and productivity and leaning into my strengths. But here's what I said. This is 5 years ago, remember? And I have not let this out to anybody besides my brother, because I just think like he sometimes is the only person who can handle some of the stuff I say. And, and granted, more, I mean, really to that fact, I was probably like that much into my brother, and he's like, are you trying to time travel? So you want to talk high level, you have a conversation with my brother. But here's what I said. I said, it's based on how one thing leads to another. And that in itself to me is just pretty impactful. Is anybody going to argue that one thing doesn't lead to another? Is anybody going to ever argue that everything isn't connected? I would always say life is about give and take. And the breath that I take in affects the air, because we're all in the same universe, right? Last time I checked, I don't care whether you're in Bangladesh or in New York or Paris, we're all in one universe. So the breath that I breathe in affects at some level, it might be minuscule, but let's go ahead and measure this down into, we're splitting atoms over here in the Stanford Linear Accelerator. So, I mean, if you want to get very granular on this, the breath that I breathe in affects the breath that's, somebody else breathes out, I breathe in. So I really do feel like we are all connected. I think it's a give and take world. And if you don't think so, then, remember when you were born? I know you don't, but go watch a video right now of a baby being born, which is a freaking weird thing, okay? But when the baby is born, usually what happens, my buddy Mount over here, Mount, you're about to experience this. Wow, are you on a ride? You're about to be on a ride. When the baby is born, it has this moment, you have a moment where you're listening for the cry. You're listening for this gasp of air, which is always a cry, because they're coming into this environment that's totally different than just like swishing around in fluid for 9 months and just being comfortable and happy and listening to sounds and being happy and chilling and feed me and do this and swishing around in fluid. And then all of a sudden, they're just like kicking their legs out and they're all pissed off. But the first thing that happens is they give and take. They give air and they take air. So, that's the first sentence here. It's based on how one thing leads to another. and how everything you do adds up to either being late, early, on time, left with no time, and sometimes tons of time. I'm gonna read that again. Time slotting, and we're talking about a slot of time. We're talking about walking into a grocery store for 19 minutes and maybe you shouldn't have been there. Maybe you should have left. That slot of time is going to perpetuate an impact again and again and again in life. And I'm just being very humble here. I rarely run into situations where I'm stuck in line or I feel like, why am I here? And if I do, I do sometimes, but I leave. And I just recognize that this is not the right time for me, and my time is better somewhere else, and I just bail. So, again, time slotting is based on how one thing leads to another, and how everything you do either adds up to you being late, early, on time, left with no time, and sometimes tons of time. So we're really just talking about slots of time. They could be long slots. They could be a wasted movie. Have you ever walked out of a movie? Some people won't do it. Some people are just like, I paid my $13.75 and fuck it, I'm just like gonna barrel through this thing. And again, I'm not saying that that's gonna perpetuate some negative, snowball of bad timing, but it has the ability to. And paying attention to your coincidences is just a beautiful thing. So I go on. I said, that thing you do, everything you do, whatever it is, potentially has direct reflect on the amount of time you have to do other things. I know I just kind of I went over the top on that. But that's what it is. That thing you do, everything you do, whatever it is. So I'm really just trying to address the masses because everybody is so different on every day. What I'm really referring to is helping people. If you stop and recognize the crap that's going around you and you help this person, in my opinion, you are just creating a positive force of time slotting. And I've had an amazing life. I really have. I've definitely had some crazy stuff happen. I've had some bad stuff happen. I can call it bad, but really when it all adds up to where I am right now, this is what I said. This is what I've said to, when I've been on an interview a couple times, I've said this. In my life, I personally have put myself wherever I've ended up, positive and negative. I will take responsibility for every single place I have ended up on this earth, positive and negative. I blame nobody. I do not complain. And if you know me, that is how I am, or at least I try to be. So if I'm not completely that way, you let me know. But that is it. I take responsibility positively and negatively. I'm not going to say lucky. I'll say blessed. That is, but I will say that, create your own luck. I think that that's a big deal. So I will take responsibility for every single place I have ended up in life, positively and negatively. Whether it's been on a podium accepting a medal or whether it's been in jail. I'll be very blunt with you guys. This guy, Mike, what's his name? Mike, he's unemployed right now. Mike Zacchio. Look at this guy. He's got 1,300 followers on Instagram. This guy, I don't want to say he's a mentor to me because he's just another human being, but he was on the Gary Vaynerchuk show. It's kind of like that Kevin Bacon 6 Degrees of Separation thing. I just feel connected to the guy because I saw him on Gary's show. And it's like, now I realize the guy does a show every single night at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. his time in New York. I think he's in New York. And he's a relationship guy, and he goes live on Instagram. And Instagram allows you to go 59 minutes live. I didn't even know that. And I find myself tuning into the guy's stuff every single day at 5 p.m. You know, I'm in there putting comments in. I'm in there putting a lot of positive stuff, a lot of like, hey, believe me, it's all about relationships. So I put some interesting stuff in there that I think has actually helped his cause, or his show, you know, whatever it is. And people have connected to me on Instagram outside of his show. All right, I'm not going to go too much longer, and I'm not going to read too much more, but this is kind of like the first episode of my time slotting approach to life. Recognizing these slots of time, you know, are you abusing time? Or could you be doing other things with that time that would set you up to have more free time? Again, remember the beginning of this. It's one's everlasting and never-ending pursuit of free time. So this isn't about like never taking time and doing nothing. That's not what this is. This is just the pursuit of it. So when you have that little bug that says, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that, you're right. Your intuition is dead on. All right, let's go a little further. I talk about cliches a lot. I love cliches. So I said, I don't think anybody can argue the fact that most everybody in this world wants more free time. What they choose to do with that free time is a completely different story. Some people will use that time to do the things that are the exact opposite of what other people do with the exact same free time. So that's a little bit nutty, right? You give two people an hour of complete free time. Your phone's not going to ring. Nobody's going to bug you. Nobody's going to judge you. And they do completely different things. That's just personality. But I'm talking about from a high level. I'm not talking about the actual thing. I'm talking about being productive or being negative, you know, doing some destructive things, you know, that really there's no way that's going to set off a positive snowball on your time. Impossible. That's universe stuff, you know. I mean, I'll lean into God, but if you can't handle that, let's just go universe. I mean, we're living in it, so you can't deny that, right? People try to, but you can't. So again, what they choose to do with that free time is a completely different story. Some people will use that time to do the things that are the exact opposite of what other people do with the exact same free time. Fact is, you couldn't pay people to do the things that a lot of people in this world do with their free time. What I'm referring to is like charity work. What I'm referring to is like a soup kitchen. Again, let me read it again. Fact is, you couldn't pay people to do the things that a lot of people in this world do with their free time. Sewing masks. I didn't sew any. I don't know how to sew, but I definitely could have done more in the last month. I said this at Thanksgiving 7-8 years ago. My mom remembers this. I sat there and I was like, you know, everybody, we went around the table. You guys ever do that? You go around the horn. What are you thankful for the last year? And I basically sat there almost in tears, just thinking to myself, I just need to give more. I just need to do more. I just have more to give, and I haven't. So I just wanted to verbalize it. And this is part of it right here. I'm not trying to be, you know, like, I am actually saying that I'm a vehicle. I am actually saying that I'm some sort of a medium to connect people with positivity and enable them to think a little bit different. So again, I'll read it one last time. Some people will use that time to do things that are the exact opposite of what other people do with the exact same free time. Fact is, you couldn't pay people to do the things that a lot of people do in this world with their free time. So let's all get over the fact that sometimes we feel like our time is more important to us than others. It's not. It's the opposite. Your time is other people's time, and other people's time is your time. Time is time. That's what I wrote down here. Now, I know that gets a little bit like, now what are you talking about, Darren? And that's fine. I don't need everybody to get this. But time is one of those things that I think everybody can have a pretty decent philosophical conversation around. And I'm pretty damn sure that if I read this a couple times, fact is, Let me read this part again. So let's all get over the fact that sometimes we feel like our time, like it's my time. Is it? I just feel like it's a shared space. Like what am I living alone with nobody else around me and it's my time? Like that just doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, it really doesn't. So let's all get over the fact that sometimes we feel like our time is more important to us than others. It's not. It's the opposite. Your time is other people's time and other people's time is your time. And simply, time is time. And time simply doesn't exist without other people. Wow. So I'm like wowing my own stuff. Your mindset will determine greatly how you feel about this. Most people feel like they're either taking time or giving time. And again, I'm not, I'm going to stop where I get a little bit emotional here, because my brother and I spent a lot of time building something, it has not been torn down. It's just one of those things where it wasn't our time, and the word just continues to come up for me. It really does play into my psyche. So most people feel like they're either taking time or giving time. The key is to do both and find a balance no matter what it is. So it comes down to the slots of time for the things that you do. And if you're at a kid's soccer game, at a play, at a sporting event, at a stoplight, in line somewhere, waiting, these are all slots of time. So you can go back to doing the stuff that you want to do with your life and your time. So this is all just a buildup, you guys. That's all I'm saying. Thanks, Heather. I appreciate it. Lynbrook grad in the house. So that's it, you guys. I'm going to stop here because I actually, again, notes, pages, all about time slotting. And I'm stopping right there. Like I barely have scrolled, you guys. So, and I put a little gesture in here. My second book is about human nature, because I just think we are tied together. You ever notice when you pull through a stoplight and the person really doesn't know you're looking at you? Hey, I love people that are laser focused and don't see that person, but inevitably there's like this moment where human behavior kicks in. It's kind of like the fast lane. When people feel like they're in control and they slow down in the fast lane, and if you ever were to actually pull that person over, they would have it in them to act completely oblivious and act like they didn't know you were behind them. That's human nature. People have that in them. So don't trip on other people. Just go around them. Fuck them. So here it is. Most people feel like they are either taking time or giving time. The key is to do both and find a balance no matter what it is. So it comes down to the slots of time for the things that you do. So if you're at a kid's soccer game or at a play or a recreational sporting event, this, of course, I could go on and on and on, or a stoplight or in line somewhere waiting, in quotes. So you can go back to the stuff you want to do with your life and your time. Thanks for listening, you guys. Again, my daughter didn't want to make TikTok videos, so here we are. Life has a funny way of doing that. It's Friday night, and I've definitely done some fun stuff with my time. I'm happy that I spent a little bit of time doing this. I don't know how much time, but I went for it, you guys. I went for it. I went website, blog, which is Anchor. Anchor is like this cool blog that puts it on Spotify and Apple and all these other places. Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat, SEO, and retargeting. I mean, there's a lot of ways to express yourself, and I get it. There's a lot of people that will never hit live and go for it. My analogy is when J-Lo and Shakira were at the Super Bowl. Man, a lot of people came down hard on them. But were they willing to hit record and just get into a conversation? Definitely not. I didn't see anybody that was willing to shame them publicly. They just hide behind the keyboard and then publish, and then like see this banter of like this barrage of BS, and then jump in there and put their little 2 cents in. To me, that's just weak. I shouldn't even say that. It's them. They can do whatever they want to do, but it's not me. If I'm going to come out and say something, and I've been thinking of time slotting since 2016. So time slotting for me is a big deal. And so tonight I just felt like, let's go for it. Let's just put it out there a little bit. Maybe it's a Friday night thing. I don't know, you guys, but have a wonderful night. Positivity rules. I have it up on my board. This is no trial run. We have won the human lottery, but I figured like, I'm not just going to come on and talk positive. That just seemed like a little bit the salty blonde over here. You know, it seemed a little bit salty, you know, like, can you just get away with that talking positive? You have to have a little bit more substance. You have to have something a little bit deeper to come out with that's your perspective, and something that you almost feel obligated or just itchy to get off your chest or out of your gut. So time slotting was my thing, and I just tried to figure out a way to combine the two. So love you guys. Have a great evening. I don't know how to end it over here, right? We're done.